Distinguished Honoree, Mr. Jesse Britton from Anatomy College.
Well, it's quite an honor to honor Jesse. I haven't seen you in a while. Glad to see you. It's really quite a daunting task to be given about 2 minutes to talk about a career that spanned almost 6 decades. And that's unbelievable. Jesse worked for me. I'm going to represent a small part of that work for about 20 years or so. And Jesse worked for me truly in a hidden figure mode because he worked for me at nights. Jesse always had at least 1 or 2, maybe even 3 jobs at the same time. And so to avoid, labor laws, he worked for me through the VA because I had a VA grant. And so he worked for me at nights and sometimes on weekends. And so I was able as a young professor to get my lab started and run it really on a 24-hour basis, which is like a dream come true, and 7 days a week oftentimes. And so we had a system. Jesse had a book. We wrote instructions. Jesse couldn't call me at night. We didn't have text messages. He couldn't wake up my family and me, So Jesse would read my sketchy little plans in the book, and Jesse would go about cutting sections and doing my experiments and making literally my dreams come true. By morning time, the work would be on my desk, and my dreams came true. And Jesse could do everything that I could do and more, except for write grants and papers. So I wrote grants and papers. Jesse did the work, and trained other people as well. One day I said, we need to do a cloning experiment. We need to clone you. Do you know anybody else with a work ethic like you? And Jesse said, I do. I have a sister. I trained her to cut sections and do tissues and stuff. And so Mary McKissick came to work for me until her death, pretty much. And then I said, we need another Jesse. And he said, I have a son, Jesse Britton Jr. Jesse Britton Jr. lasted until he had a terrible car wreck and was disabled and couldn't work. And then I said, well, anyway, the work went on, and we did a lot of other work. We got grants. We did a skin disease research center grant, and we had a core. We helped other people. And a lot of the scientists came, and they began to have us cut sections that were outside of the skin field. And pretty soon we were overwhelmed with too much work. And so I approached the university about having an immunohistochemistry core lab, which is now a translational pathology lab. But Jesse was the start of that because we were doing that before it was called a core. Jesse made it happen at night and on weekends, so thank you. It was fun. I can't imagine how many scientists and people you helped, and grad students and postdocs. It was wonderful. And so then we hired Jesse's niece, Frances Shook, who's here. And she still works in the core, and work continues on. So Jesse, your legacy is monumental. And that's door alone, just in your own personal family, extended family. And Jesse did many other things besides just do tissue sections and stuff. This was something he learned when he was in pathology doing autopsy service. We don't have the autopsy folks here to represent him, but he did that for many, many, many years. And then he was hired to do the anatomical donation, embalming, and take care of our anatomical donors. He did that for 20 years while he was also working for me. And so Jesse worked for me at night and really kind of worked for me in the day, and others who were part of the anatomical donation program teaching anatomy. And so all those donors came in, and they were retreated on a 24/7 basis. They come in and donate their bodies to Vanderbilt, and Jesse would take care of them properly and prepare them for learning in the anatomy lab. And everything was always perfectly apportioned in there and well done, clean, and well respected, and the students and learning was made possible for the medical students, hundreds and hundreds of medical students, hundreds and hundreds of residents and attendings, and it was just all done to perfection. You never had to tell Jesse, really hardly had to tell him to do things the first time. He already figured out what needed to be done. And that was important to me as an inexperienced young professor. It was just great. He would read minds and get the job done without being told. And so, I didn't cry often at Vanderbilt, but the day Jesse announced his first retirement, I cried. We had to have lots of Kleenex for that day because I just couldn't believe the day had come. But the day did come. Jesse continued on. He came back a few years later to work in the autopsy service and continued to make sections. And one of his monumental contributions to this institution is in the archival tissue bank that Jesse has cataloged millions of specimens. And who would have known all those years ago that it would become so important to have such a well-documented archive, because now DNA and RNA is extracted from those tissue sections, and cancer patients can benefit from discoveries, and it's just limitless, the amount of things that are done with that archive. Jesse Vanderbilt thanks you for that too. So Jesse is probably one of the most hidden figures at Vanderbilt because he worked in my lab at nights and on weekends. He worked helping me to develop a pig model down in the animal care facility, which is all locked up so nobody can get in except trained people. He worked in the autopsy service, that's certainly a private place, and the anatomical donation program in the gross anatomy lab is a very private, out-of-the-way place. So you've been truly hidden, but we're glad to bring this to the light of day today. Thank you.
Night, I was a farmer, then I worked at the tractor company at night. So I met Dr. McQuarrie, because I wasn't running night service and tractors, and he had a little tractor that he wanted worked on. And I got to know him that way, and I'd go out there and work on his tractor, and he'd talk to me, and then he offered me a job. And the job he offered me was the autopsy service, because he was over pathology. It was a challenge, and I took him up on it, and they said, we want a man that can actually do an autopsy, not make a diagnosis, but able to do an autopsy, because they were short on residents. And, you know, this was, I couldn't believe it. Hey, if you think I can do this, you must have seen something that I took him up on it. I mean, you had books, and you watched me. Hey, I had to do what I learned, and I was able to actually do what they expected. I asked me to do, you know, I didn't expect it, but that's what they asked me. And I was able to do it, and some of the older pathologists actually told me, he said, I used to hate to see July come because that's when you had new residents, and it was so time consuming with the residents. He said, but when you came, it was a complete transition. We loved it because we know we come in first day or two, after that, it was in your hands, and it was. I mean, I could work with the residents and help. I was a lot of help to them. When I went out there working, I was reading. Well, I started cutting the frozen sections, studied the fatty embolism, then I started do the paraffin sections. You sneak back at night, you know, they told me, hey, you know, you'll never learn this, but I would sneak back and use the microtome at night until I got that master, and then I come out to open with it. And this is why Dr. Chaparro and Dr. McQuarrie wanted me in the autopsy service. And I didn't come in there just to be a clean-up boy. I came in there to learn, and that's what I did. Well, I appreciate Vanderbilt for let me get my foot in the door, and hey, that was the start for me right there.
So I think you can see why this is the best day of the year at Hincham. It's amazing. Rosamond Gableson